Yes, sir. Just to give you a heads up.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. We will get into our public hearings in just a moment. First, before we do that, however, we have a business item to take care of, namely action on the minutes from our October meeting. Those minutes have been distributed to the commission members in advance for review, and if there is an action or a motion for action on those minutes, we can consider that now.
I move approval of the minutes with two suggested modifications. The first modification appears on page 7 in the discussion of SP-24-22, the special use permit for the Gifford Street liquor store project. The last paragraph in the last line of that particular discussion says that Commissioner Kulik closed public comment, period, which is correct. But after public comment was closed, the commission deliberated and decided to hold the application for consideration at a future meeting for 3 reasons. Those 3 reasons were the unclear hours of operation, plumbing and sewer issues, and unfinished site work per the existing special use permit. And so it seems to me that when we hold a application over for consideration at a future meeting, it would be useful both for us but also for the public to see what those issues were in the minutes, if everybody agrees.
Good catch. And you have a second?
Yes. The second is at the end. During the discussion of the under other business, the vice chair election and the adjournment. Under adjournment, it states that Commissioner Bowler abstained. Actually, he abstained from the vote on vice presidency, not on adjourning. Although it's possible he made some kind of offhanded joke. But he did, in fact, abstain from voting on himself for the election.
He did. I recall that. And had he not abstained, we might still be meeting now on the adjournment issue. So those are good corrections. Thank you for your careful reading. We'll get those adjustments made for the record here. Any further corrections or adjustments to the minutes from our October 21st meeting? If not, is there a second?
Second.
To the motion already made. Discussion on the motion before us? If there's no discussion, all in favor of the amended minutes as just outlined, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? We now have an amended set of minutes for the October 21st meeting, setting the stage for us to move into today's business. For those of here who may not be familiar with our process, just as a quick recap and guide, excuse me, as each application is announced by a member of the staff, we ask that the applicant or their representative come to the podium in the center of the room, provide your name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application involved. Following any questions from the commission members, we will provide an opportunity for members of the public who wish to speak in favor of that application to come forward and do so. And similarly, we will provide an opportunity for those who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. We simply ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and then a brief set of comments of a couple of 3 minutes or so outlining your position. If comments are offered in opposition to the application, we will offer the applicant an opportunity to return to the podium and address the comments made in opposition. So pretty straightforward. And with that, I think we're ready for our first item on tonight's agenda.
Yes, we have one old business item under. Did I scare you? Sorry, everybody. I just snuck in. Sorry, I'm a little. I ran up here. So, under old business, project titled Brighton Muse Mini Storage. There's two companion projects. The first is a special use permit SP-24-15 and a major site plan review MA SPR-24-28.
If the applicant is here,
Hello, Christian Freeman, 121 Ruskin, work for Coupling and Freeman Associates, the site planners for the project. I guess since the last time we appeared before the board, the easement language was investigated, and it turns out there are no building rights at all that we have rights to in that area. So in response to that, the site plans have been amended. So you'll note that that dashed line is the easement line, and 1 foot off that dashed line is a curb line. We've also notched the building back a little bit so that for constructability purposes, we're making sure we're not disturbing that easement in any way with construction equipment, et cetera. And then I guess just to conclude that, this site has no variances and it adheres to regulations set forth from the zoning for this style. So we are seeking that special use because it's storage, but other than that, it adheres to the standards set by the city.
any other changes? Just
I don't think there are any other changes I can really speak to. I don't know if we referenced it, but there is a guardrail plan east of that building, because that's a considerable slope from below your cursor going down towards that parking area. So there's a little box beam guardrail style right there to protect neighboring parking cars in that easement area from going down the hill on our property.
thanks. Questions?
Could you clarify what exactly happened with the easement issue? Because when we met in August,
Yeah.
we had considerable discussion about that side of the property, but most of that discussion was related to screening issues.
Yes.
Representative from the apartment complex was here and didn't say anything about encroachment on the easement because of construction. So I'm just curious what happened, because the language in the easement agreement is the same that it was back in August.
Correct.
What transpired?
Nope, that's a good catch. So, we're landscape architects, not lawyers, number one. So when we design, typically when we have an easement such as this, it's in place for some kind of utility or has a particular reason. And our understanding was that it was parking given to them and granted by the property owner. What we didn't know was sort of the fine-tooth details of the easement language, and that sort of came to light as we got further along, and it was recognized that we can't actually do any work in that easement area, and that's not something that typically it's an easement. There's some kind of a constructability that exists between the person who doesn't control the easement, and then there's also privileges for the person who has the easement. This easement is, I don't know how to describe it. It's more ironclad. It's a stronger legal document than what we were understanding. Thought it was a little more flexible.
Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant?
Can you elaborate a little bit just on the design of the curbing to the southern portion of the building, and if that relates to part of any stormwater retention to, I guess, the bottom right, which would be the southeast portion where the storm drains are there? And before I forget the second part, you said you bumped that back. Can you talk about why there's no landscape design in that area?
Sure. So let's start with the curb. So per stormwater laws and regulations, every site, I'm simplifying this, but every site that you develop, you have to manage both volume and water quality for your site. So when a raindrop falls on your property, it's your business to make sure that it's clean before it leaves and it's withheld in the event of a heavy storm event. what happens on older sites and sites that are grandfathered in, as you all well know, is they don't have, when they went through that developing process, they didn't have the responsibility of having to manage the stormwater. So what we're doing here is we're adding in some drainage with this structure and this structure. This is a sloping area from here down. Slopes at a pretty good percent, I'd say 30% slope or so. Or yeah, 1 on 30, I should say. 1 on 30, 1 foot of drop for every 30 feet. So raindrop that falls here is going to move down this hill. And the reason we put the curb in is so that that water, which per our SWIP and legal document, that water is only treated for volume, and what it is it's collected in here and goes into the municipal system. Our stormwater prevention plan handles all the impervious coverage that we're instituting in this design. So every drop of water that comes in, that hits the building or the pavement or whatever, that's accounted for quality and volume. So separating these systems is very, very important as far as legally engineering the sites. So that's kind of what that curbing is for, is to decouple what in a, I don't know when this was built, but in an older style, you could just kind of pull your building up, push the rainwater off the sides, or leave the site as it was, because there was an existing slope there, and let the raindrop fall on your neighbor or into a municipal right of way. But in our system, we have to take care of our business, and we're diverting the off-site business into the municipal system, which we're legally allowed to do. Oh, and then your question about the planting area. We didn't put one in there because we didn't put one in there. We certainly could if it was asked of us. We'd also ask that if it were asked of us, that that'd be a contingency upon approval, since these are approvable drawings. We have no work within the easement, nothing else to really ask for other than an approval.
Sure. I just know there's been some comments about a buffer between, so I think that's something that the board can definitely consider. Just back to the stormwater management question. So you were pointing to the western kind of drainage area, but would you say the eastern rear portion is going to act the same way? Because I was just looking at it earlier, couldn't help but notice like the curbing ends kind of halfway down from the parking lot, right there. And there's actually the slope would actually go down towards that storm drain too. So it's acting in the same manner on that side of the property as well?
No, so the site actually kind of crowns here and flattens out quite a bit. And then another thing is we do have this, I'm really trying hard to keep my hands steady here. There's a thin line right above the property line. That's the pavement edge. And then up here is our curb. Thank you. So you see that zigzaggy line right here, bop, 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 bop. That's the pavement edge. And then we have this curbing here. So we're a little less concerned with the water because there's a green space for it to kind of potentially infiltrate into, and it's also a flatter area. So we're not worried about that water sort of screaming down and being a water slide that goes through the ground floor of our proposed building.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Further questions? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Thank you.
Michael Serafine, office is at 5788 Wide Waters Parkway, Syracuse. I represent Greenwich Manor. My client and I met with Christian yesterday to discuss the problems we know will occur on our property because of the curbing. Water from our property is just going to back up. Also, it's inches from the easement line. They can't dig up and put the foundation in without disturbing the easement area. Plus, what's not shown on here is the proposal requires that probably 20 or 30 mature trees have to be removed Some are on our easement area, some are on the border, some may be beyond the border of the easement area. But to remove the trees and the roots is going to cause a massive interruption in the easement area. And we think because these are mature trees with large root systems, it's going to end up damaging the pavement as well. If I correct, the developer and the staff have been working on this for almost a year. And throughout this year, neither the developer nor Mr. Hucko will reach out to my client to talk about anything. After talking with Christian, who had maybe some good ideas as to what the developer could do to make sure that this doesn't cause a flooding problem on Greenwich Manor, my client finally reached out to him. Essentially, it was like stiff arm in the face. It was told that he doesn't need our approval or our cooperation in anything, that he seemed to infer he was sure this is getting approved tonight and he didn't need anything from us. But there's going to be a massive removing the trees is going to be a massive disruption. Some on the easement area, a massive disruption to the easement area, totally prohibited by the easement agreement. My client is way more than willing to talk to them about addressing the buffer situation and the drainage situation. He's made some suggestions. Mr. Charles just really called him today. He just really refused to talk to him in substance at all. Again, I just think it's just outlandish that this has gotten this far without the developer reaching out to us. Then, the way the staff and the committee and the developer have worked is putting all the burden on us to try to protect our interests. Greenwich Manor has been there for 48 years. My client's been a Syracuse resident, or in Syracuse, since birth. I would respectfully submit that the purpose of the commission is to protect Greenwich Manor from an out-of-state, out-of-town developer, not protect the developer against us. And again, Christian admitted they need to remove the trees. They actually need to remove the trees because they can't put the curb in if the roots from the trees are there. You can't dig down in. These are like 40-foot trees with massive root systems. So it's not true that they've come up with a plan that doesn't require disturbing the easement area. We honestly believe the curbing is going to cause just a backflow of water onto Greenwich Manor, which needs to be addressed. Christian himself had made some suggestions as to how we can ameliorate the issue if we cooperated with whatever use or construction in the easement area might be required. But again, the developer pretty much didn't want to talk, didn't think he needed to talk to my client about anything. So I would just ask, that this be tabled until the property owners can come to an agreement on how to handle the stormwater drainage and to ameliorate what is sure to be very negative impacts on Greenwich Manor in terms of both value and function and, the integrity of our property.
Thank you. Questions from the commission members for the speaker? Okay, thank you very much. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. Thank you. Thanks.
Kathy Stribley, 316 Monticello Drive North. I'm a retired landscape architect as well as a professor, but I'm also a member of TNT and on the planning committee. I'm in that sector in that area, and we haven't met before. Just to reiterate what Mr. Serafine said, the curb that is installed on the north edge of the easement is going to require a lot of disturbance of those trees. And so, like he said, that isn't really a good solution. I think this problem underscores the whole issue with this narrow site and the way it was constructed and the amount of building this applicant is trying to put on there. And if he can notch one end of the building, why can't he notch the other end of the building? I mean, what are we really talking about here? He didn't submit anything new in terms of the internal building about what he was doing. There are other ways to slow down the drainage to that site and maybe filter it, like a stone berm or some other way to do it without disturbing the trees. But I think, as Mr. Serafine has noted, I think that they need to get together and talk and really come up with a creative solution. On the buffer, I'm suggesting that the buffer be continued to the east and west. That's my drawing. And that they replace the non-native plants with native plants and with things that will spread, things that will actually spread in that environment. There are certain plants like gray dogwoods, and they have red dogwood on there. There's other kinds of viburnums, other kinds of plants, amelankers, serviceberries they've got in there. So I'm just suggesting that. I made some detailed comments on that, but I think with the curb where it is and the very strange, it's a very strange idea. I'll just tell you that in other sites in our neighborhood where that kind of thing has been done, and there's water pressure against the curb just rotates downhill anyway, and it all breaks up. And within 5 years, it's gone. So you get snow plows, you get water pressure, and it's gone. So I think there's a better solution. I think the whole thing needs to be looked at. I understand their need to separate their drainage or the stormwater requirements, but it's a big problem. So I think they need a little more time to figure this out. And I did give this to to Christian back there. So.
Thank you.
And I would just comment, one more comment. This body and the Common Council has wanted more and more multifamily housing. And we've been down here arguing about turning single-family residential areas into multifamily. But when it comes to this, it seems like the City Planning Commission, at least so far, has been unwilling to sort of support the environment and maintain the quality of this multifamily development, which is very stable. And if you go up there, you can see there are a lot of longtime residents that live up there. So I'm very concerned about the impact will be to this development on this, in this whole area of our sector in the valley and the Brighton Hill area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. We don't seem to have any additional speakers. Applicant has the opportunity to address comments made in opposition if you choose. Well, sure, but you wait too long.
We'll go up there. One more time. All right. All right.
And you have the last speaker's
Yeah,
comments?
I read through them. I
Okay.
read through those notes. Yeah, we could add more plantings. That definitely is something that could feasibly be done. The comment about the curb, I don't agree with. For one, that curb doesn't actually border pavement. We're proposing a curb that it literally is, it goes pavement edge, easement line, curb. That's either planting area, lawn, or whatever they would wish to keep there. So in the areas where the pavement edge is closer to the curb, it's nearer in terms of disturbance and potentially getting hit by a snowplow. But the majority of that curb is off their pavement edge. And the reason we're doing this is to stay out of that easement. In terms of other comments, let me think here. Talking about neighborhood quality, the existing site has a sort of burnt out old house and a nasty rubble driveway in. There are trees on site. I'm not a wetland biologist or a forestry expert, but it's Robinia. They're a sort of species that colonizes. They're not like an oak hardwood forest. Their species count is not exceptionally high. They're an average tree. So in terms of the value of the tree, it's not like we're disturbing a redwood forest. And then in terms of, I guess, improvements on the site, I think it's important to understand that we have a property, and if we're going to make approvals contingent upon an agreement between our neighbor, the power of approvals has now completely been vacated from the city and given to private citizens. Our client would prefer that the ruling came from the municipality versus, you throwing it back to us and saying, figure it out. We've already made adjustments to our plan in order to try and be a little bit better of neighbors. I mean, the point about notching the building, we could continue to we could just make the building, 2,000 square feet. What's stopping us? Where's the line where we can lean on the code and the approvals process and a set of guidelines that you're giving us that we can design to and have an understanding that it's approvable and it's something that will be accepted versus something that can be picked apart by a neighbor? What's to stop, since this plan is 100% approvable the way it is per codes, what's to stop another project from going in the hands of a neighbor? Just a question of if they show up to the meetings and ask, I guess, would be sort of where I'm leaning. So I'd prefer it if you guys, as the overruling municipality, would make a determination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out that this is a special use permit, and the suggestion is that the board would be arbitrary and capriciously not applying the rules of the code to require them to work this out further. But given that this is a special use permit application, the board has discretion to impose conditions and to view the application in terms of its compatibility with the neighborhood, which is one of the criteria.
And this is a special use permit, it proceeds onto the council. Right?
And just as a point of clarification, this was returned, this was remanded to us to review.
Yes.
Right.
And we reopened, in a sense, reopened the hearing tonight.
The council didn't take a position.
Questions
I
or
don't think
concerns
they
about
did.
it?
Yeah, they just remanded it because the issue was unresolved.
They,
Right. So-
yeah, I don't think it was actually formally remanded. It came back.
Right. To me, there's two sets of issues here. The one issue we've been discussing a long time that has to do with screening and individual impact on the apartment complex and residences. And it does appear to me that given the height of the construction of the facility and also the elevation and height of the apartment, that no amount of screening is going to satisfy the concerns of the residents. But the other issue that keeps coming up that concerns me is the whole easement issue. And it seems like every time we have a meeting, there's a new easement issue that is brought up at the last minute that we struggle then to resolve. So I guess I'm kind of wondering, I'd like to get the opinion of staff, Christian, if you were involved in these conversations, if getting together both parties to see if they can work out a reasonable solution would be possible in a reasonable period of time. Maybe should we let Jake answer that?
So what's the question, I guess?
Well, we have before us the proposition that the owners of the apartment complex would like to get together with the owners of the application to see if they can work out a solution. There seems to have been a conversation with Christian today in which some suggestions, at least as the owner of the apartment has indicated, might help resolve.
So the applicant's name is Christian.
I see. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying that.
I would, from a
So
staff
that
level.
conversation referred to today were not with the staff, anybody in the staff?
No.
Right.
Thank you.
Developer.
That's why we were all confused.
Too many Christians in the room.
That's certainly something that can be considered by the board instead of taking an action, is just we can hold it and say, I mean, he might not like it, but I think we can definitely say, go back to the drawing board and talk to the neighbor. As Mayor mentioned, I think one of the considerations, I mean, this isn't just black and white, feed it through a machine. We wouldn't need humans sitting here to evaluate this if it were that simple. And this is part of community impact, right? Like, so,
Correct.
There's actual people involved, and that's why we're all here to serve. So, that's definitely something I think the four of you can consider doing tonight. Should you not wish to take an action, or you can take an action and make a recommendation to the council one way or the other.
Right. Well, I mean, my concern is, we now have had two cases, first with the car wash and now with this project, in which we've moved the project forward and the Common Council sent it back to us for further consideration. I would anticipate the possibility of that happening again, given the controversy around this particular project. And so I'm hoping that we could find a way forward that would circumvent that cycle and find a solution that would actually work. And it seems to me the only way we can do that is if we have in writing a solution that both parties agree to before it comes back to the Planning Commission.
So actually two ways forward, I think. One is what you just described, that sort of conversation, encouraging that conversation. We can't make it happen. We can allow for it to happen. And second, as Mayor indicated earlier, if the commission's inclined to act upon and improve this, it can also introduce conditions to address concerns. So that would be a second way to maybe get to move it forward. Any thoughts from the commission members?
We're leaning forward.
Who's sensitive tonight?
I am.
Okay,
Terribly
good.
sensitive.
Even day, it's yours.
I think that despite Christian's comments, which I appreciate, I think that we would be remiss not to give the applicant and you an opportunity. I would urge the representative of Greenwich Manor to understand, I believe it's commercially zoned, the land. I understand the concern Kathleen brought about runoff and possible other solutions which could be explored. At the end, I think that we need a solution that solves most of the problem for most of the issues. And that you both agree can survive past the vote. The easement is unusual, as you point out, Christian, that there's no ability, if that's true, to cross that easement even for construction work or fixing work or landscape work or anything else. So it does kind of present an issue that will need, I believe, some support from the Greenwich Manor side of the aisle to say, well, okay, if you're going to build this berm, we will allow you to build the berm that we want you to build. So if everybody's willing, it would be my recommendation. If both parties are willing to approach it that way, then we, I think, would consider a hold till our next meeting, with the goal being really a solution that works for both of you. That would be my recommendation or thoughts. I don't know what everybody else is thinking.
So any thoughts of a different approach or endorsement of what Kathy just outlined?
I would agree. Holding it at this point is the best thing to do.
Okay. Seems as though there's a consensus here to invite the parties to have further conversation, to maybe find some additional steps to take that address concerns raised this evening and bring those back in a revised project description outline at our December meeting for final action by the commission.
And I would ask Jake if Jake has particular thoughts and ideas regarding certain pieces of the runoff or the stormwater solution, if he would share those with both of you sooner rather than later. I think that would also help, hopefully, bring you to a solution that you both can live with. Did you hear me, Jake?
She just invoked your name,
I
and
just
I don't
put you
know
in the middle of
you heard it. Or invoked
Yeah,
your
I mean,
assistance.
we're more than willing to be involved with that, but to your point, I mean, I think this is going to take cooperation from both sides, so I guess we can see where we land.
Yeah. But if you have specific suggestions on the stormwater and the curbing, sharing them sooner would probably help in the discussions they're going to have.
Because we would like to get to a point where whatever recommendation this body makes is one that the council is going to be able to adopt and work with. I mean, so that is the ultimate decision maker on this. We want to forward them a recommendation that's actionable by the council.
Yeah, I think that's important for everybody to understand. I mean, the council has a final decision on these matters, and it really is not fully responsible for us to just pass things on to the council and let them resolve it if there's problems that we may be able to resolve. It seems to me that's the responsible way to proceed rather than going through this cycle of remanding when issues are brought up at the common council level.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we will hold these two items, encourage further dialogue, and wait for the product of that additional discussion to inform a revised project that we can act on at our next meeting before we make a recommendation to the council.
So moved.
Okay, I don't know if it requires a special motion, but we can formalize it if you wish.
You stated it eloquently, but as chair, you can't make a motion, so.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and any discussion on this motion before us now? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So we'll hold both of these items. Thanks to everyone who spoke this evening. And we'll proceed on to our next item.
Next up, one other item of old business. It's a special use permit SP-24-22 at 308 Gifford Street in Wyoming. This project was heard by the Planning Commission on October 21st. It was held, as we discussed, hours of operation. If you recall, there was a plumbing and kind of sewer issue to be resolved and some unfinished site work per the existing special use permit. So we're just looking for an update from the applicant on all that.
Please come forward. I was looking for you, and I didn't see you in the back there. My apologies.
Yeah, my name is Mohammed Mahmood, 8384 Anglos Club, Cicero, New York. Yeah, so we got the plumbing completed. within the past
Let me
couple
just
weeks.
clarify for
Yeah.
1 second, Mohammed. You own the property, correct?
Yes, but my father, yes.
Sorry?
My father does.
Your father? right.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, no problem. Yep, so we got all the plumbing resolved since the last meeting. We can share pictures
Has
or,
it been inspected?
yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Everything got completed. We also got the landscaping completed. I think I talked to someone in the office after the meeting. I don't remember who I spoke to. But last time they were referencing, I think, Google Maps to look at the site. But we did get all of the landscaping completed. We also did add plants around the landscaping that we got done. Unfortunately, some of those got ripped away, stolen, whatever you want to say. But we do have some pictures.
Can
the
you
site.
outline a little bit what you did in terms of the landscaping? And then would you repeat again what got damaged?
Yeah, so we did all the landscaping that was required for the buildings, for the site. So, and we put plants around all of our landscaping that we got completed. However, some of the plants got ripped.
Plants were dug up and stolen?
Yeah, stolen, teared away, unfortunately. But yeah, so we are planning on adding additional planting, but not until the spring, since winter is coming.
Next planting season,
Yes.
okay. And you do have some photos?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want these back, we can return them, but we'll just share them up front here.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, please continue.
Yeah, I think that was it. I mean,
And
yeah, we redid the hot water tanks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so plumbing, all that got done. I'm not sure what else is required.
the accessibility issue for the restroom was addressed?
Yeah, the toilets. Yep.
The plants.
If you could be closer.
Outside pictures for the plants. I took it and emailed to Zitong today.
We added some additional plants today,
Yeah.
but not fully what we want to do because of the winter coming.
Right.
But just to satisfy the city, we added some of the plants today.
Not planting season.
Not planting season, but
Not in this part of the world.
Do we have confirmation that county plumbing is satisfied? Have you guys seen anything? So,
Excuse me, what was the question?
do we have confirmation that county does all the plumbing
Right.
inspecting, and that they're fully satisfied? Which I believe is a carryover from the original
Right,
permit,
yeah.
correct?
yeah, we got some work done the past few weeks, so I'll make sure that.
Okay.
As a matter of course, would they
You had an
confirm?
inspector come though from Onondaga County Plumbing Control?
Inspector came over when we
Yeah.
before, like, he tell us like what needs to be done. So after that
He didn't return yet, but we got everything done.
Ah,
So we'll call them back.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, he told us.
He identified what needed to be done, you
We got
did
it
it,
addressed,
and he
yeah.
hasn't been back yet
Yeah,
to
so we'll give him a call.
finish the story.
So that
Okay.
was one of the conditions, but that should stay
Yeah.
until the plumber.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you.
he came, he told us what we need to fix, what we need to get done. We got all that done. And then we'll give him a call so he can verify and submit whatever we need to submit to you guys for approval
Right.
on that.
Okay.
Yep, and additional things, we are working on adding additional lighting around the building. So we are working with a few different companies. We got a few different quotes the past weeks. We haven't moved forward with any of those yet, but we are adding more lights around the building for security purposes.
And am I recalling correctly from last meeting, we also had discussion around the hours of operation, and you or the other was going to clarify what precisely you wanted or needed in terms of hours of operation. Has that
Yeah,
issue
I got
been?
an email from the lawyer, so he gave the hours of operation for Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and on Sundays, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. I have his email from my lawyer.
Sundays what?
As 10 to 9?
And
Yeah, 10
No.
10 to 9 p.m.
Other questions?
We're confirmed we're 500 feet from Seymour School.
Yes.
Yep, okay.
And the right number of feet from a place, a house of worship, correct?
Could you clarify, just to make sure this is correct, because the packet for today still has the same State Liquor Authority letter in it from May 2024, which has the expiration date of 11/28/24. Last meeting, you indicated that had been extended to May 28th, 2025, but we don't have any new documentation regarding that.
So I sent, give the printout last time for
I don't see it in the packet this time, but if we have that's... Unless I'm missing it.
He did give us that.
Because we have the same letter that we had in the last packet from the New York State Authority. That's dated May 28th, 2020.
You have the documentation? Okay, we could, if you guys don't have it, we could forward it to you guys.
Yeah, okay.
That's not a problem. It's okay, that's okay. No, he just needs additional paperwork that you extended, I think until May 2025.
I think you
it
had
was an email.
referenced
Gave us a date
an
last time.
extension.
It was
I was
an
just
email.
surprised because the packet this time doesn't include that documentation. It just includes the same letter that we had in the last packet.
The documentation?
I think I emailed.
Okay, if you guys don't have it, we can
Get
email
an
you guys.
Email from the lawyer. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
Any other questions, concerns?
Are there anyone from the commission with a question, further question or clarification needed? Okay.
Okay. So they got it, we just didn't get it in our
Okay.
material.
The office has the correspondence.
That's why I asked.
I thought we shared it.
Because I expected to find it in this,
Yeah.
because I know you said it last time.
Oh, I never saw that.
So we're good.
We know you gave us the date of the extension.
Yep,
So it's in the office.
of
It's
course.
good.
Further questions for the applicant?
No other questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, providing your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. Provide your name, address, and comments. So we have no additional speakers. We are in receipt of two pieces of correspondence relative to this project. One from City Councilor Hogan in the 2nd District in opposition to the project, and the other from a resident of the neighborhood. Seems as though leaning against the project with concerns about site work. So I turn to legal counsel here to see, and staff both actually, to see if we are in a position to close public comment on this. Or whether there's a need to continue to hold that open.
What is it you want to know from me in that context?
Any reason not to close public comment on this? We just
Oh.
received 2 additional pieces of correspondence related to the project. We,
No, the applicant can respond even after public comment is closed, so there's no reason not to close public comment.
so we will do that, and
If you don't, if you hold it, you might end up with more public comment next time, so.
true enough, true enough. And in that case then, I think our first order would be a deliberation of the seeker implications for the project, and ask if you would guide us through.
Mr. Chair, before we do that.
Sure.
I guess a question concerning the letter that we have from Councilor Hogan, who's a counselor for the second district, alleges that the landlord, the owner of the property, had failed to fulfill a previous agreement for landscaping outside of their adjacent store. I mean, that's sort of a factual claim. I know nothing about it. Could the owner speak to that, or?
So
Is
that,
it,
that
you
was
know?
discussed at the last meeting that, and that's something that our staff caught upon review of the application, was that some of the landscaping work that was proposed was never finished. So,
On the previous permit.
right, and I guess that's part of the effort of the applicant, who noted as recently as, I believe he said today, that they did some more planning. So staff would recommend, in light of not even having a written confirmation from county plumbing that there's been a permit pulled and an inspection, and there also has not been any inspection of the site work, that we would recommend that we hold this. It's nice that they made an effort and there's photos, but the way that should have been handled is an inspector from code enforcement should have gone out to look at the site plan and the plantings. I'm not a landscape architect or a lawyer, but probably at an appropriate time of year as well. I don't know that right now is the best time, but that could definitely be a condition. But given the concerns and the lack of city staff confirming some of this stuff, I don't know that we have enough information to take an action tonight, or that would be appropriate.
Well, certainly confirmation from the plumbing inspector. We want a record.
I guess I
of-
do have one question. Was part of that was the requirement was that a permit be pulled? Did you hire a licensed plumber to get a permit? Because that's the only way to get an inspection. You did? Okay.
Licensed plumber, he got a permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't take too long to get, but the county would have to come out, and then we would confirm with county plumbing control that the inspection passed. So that would be one of the items. Another item would be to comply with the original site plan that was found to be deficient in this review by the zoning staff, is get an inspector to come out to verify what's in there. I mean, obviously providing proof of that, but we would need, I'm certainly understanding if something was already stolen, that's terrible, but maybe take a harder look at what you're putting in and the size of it and how it's planted, how it's secured, and see if we can, get to a compliant point with that plan. Because it's certainly one of the items in the letters of opposition too. And to Commissioner Lentz's point, it's factual.
This is more of a staff thing, but I just asked Jitong to clarify in the context of the letters about what previous owners of the site were required to do. The applicant was a tenant before, and then the applicant bought the site. So this is a new owner.
6 months.
So when there's references to
Okay.
the old owner didn't do what they needed to do, this is a new owner.
Okay,
I
that's
just
an
wanna make
important
sure that's
fact.
clear on the
Is that the
record.
case with the Councilor Hogan letter? And that was part of my question. That was actually referenced in the
Yes.
previous.
So that was the old owner, correct.
Right.
But we did talk about that at the last meeting, I guess, to clarify that there were some deficiencies and that there was going to be an effort made to comply with that, even though that was the previous owner.
Sure.
I guess I'm a little bit still confused on the site plan because we got all of the site plan done that was required by the city a few months ago. And when I gave a call to the office, they were referencing Google Maps to see what the sidings look like, they told me, which is not accurate at all currently. So I would like confirmation on what,
So I think what
yeah.
we're thinking and what Jake is talking about is, first of all, in fairness to you
Yep.
and your new tenant, the obligations carry with the land, and but they were the obligations
Yep.
incurred by the previous owner. So that is part of what needs to be addressed. Secondly, county plumbing, you have to have
Yeah, of
them
course, yeah.
sign off on the work so that they're satisfied with meeting their conditions. And so I think what we're thinking is if we can get confirmation from you that county plumbing has come in, they should give a certificate, last I knew. Do they still do that?
Yeah, they'll give us a
Completion.
final cert.
Right.
Okay.
Of completion.
Yeah, of course, yep.
And then somebody from Jake's office should do a site visit to confirm that the plantings, understanding it's winter,
Yeah.
the plantings so far comply, and obviously, if we so see additional plantings and need to happen in the spring, that would be part of the approval process.
Yep. Okay, yeah, that sounds good, yeah, so,
So, it's about time.
yeah.
Unfortunately for all of you, I understand you want to get started, but
Yeah, so there's no way we can get conditional approval based on what you guys need from the city plumbing since the work is done? We just need to give a call to the city plumbing to come and give us that certification and then also the office to come in and verify the site plan?
I think that they would prefer a completion inspection by zoning and planning as well as the plumbing office, county plumbing. So it's 3 weeks.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, is there anything else in the meantime that we need to get done? Because we're really trying hard for our tenants to open up their business. But
So I would suggest, my personal suggestion would be also, since you're in the middle of exploring a lighting option, which I think is a great idea, for your tenants and for your building,
Okay.
that you include with, I don't know who it is, Jitong or Christian, whoever your team member is, just a description of your lighting plan.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah, so we'll make sure for the next meeting that we have that certification, whatever you guys need from the city plumbing, as well as any verification for the site plan in terms of landscaping and plants, as well as we'll put up some additional lighting before the next plan. And yeah.
In front of your doorway.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
So Jake, does he need
We
to
just need
call
to
and
show.
schedule a codes inspection?
So what I would recommend is just so we can walk you through this is an approved plan right here.
Yep.
So there's a number of trees on here that are not on the site. There's a number of shrubs on the left side of the page, which I believe is north. And then there's still some concerns. I guess we need to take a look at the curb openings too. And I think part of the landscape buffer was to kind of curtail the just driving up into the parking area, which still appears to be a concern. So what I would recommend is we can schedule an appointment with you to come in. We can review this with you. And the deficient items, we can include a code enforcement inspector that would be assigned so everybody's on the same page. And see what we can get done now versus, what could maybe be a spring condition of
Condition for
approval.
spring, okay.
Okay. And then he has to call county plumbing,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, their inspector just needs to get those items inspected, and they need a final cert that that permit
Right.
was closed out and passed inspection.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Is it possible that we'll have a visit before the next meeting? So that way we can try to get approval on the next, like,
From the county?
yeah.
It should be.
What's the question?
Can he get county plumbing in there
Not the
before our
pl-
next meeting?
I think not the
Oh,
plumbing.
yeah, I would imagine, yes.
And
The county inspector.
I
yeah,
would think so.
county
yeah.
should be able to do it, and definitely Jake and his team will do it before our
Awesome.
next meeting.
So, okay, we'll reach out.
So we can't open the business.
Not yet.
3 weeks. You have to come back here. I'm sorry.
We didn't know, like, we need to call the inspector for the plumbing. It was already done. So I thought like he gonna like show up and, you know, ask us to for the inspection.
You call and make an appointment. He should come and inspect based on what the requirement was in the first place. And once he confirms you did everything you were supposed to do, he'll fill out a final form, give it to probably the owner or you, and then you need to get that to Jake.
Can we send the pictures and from the plumber certified?
He won't do it from a picture.
Yeah, they have to be there in
He
person.
has to come in person.
I just request you guys, why should be tenant suffering, you know? They don't do, actually their job, maybe their mistake, right? Why should I am and my family is suffering? We pay $3,500 rent to them every month. We don't know how to raise the rent for 2 years to want $3,500 rent. Now, I approved my license from the state, right? Then I am from city 6 months, I am going here and there every day and paying them $3,500 rent. They don't free me for $1 rent, right? The plumbing, they already done. Landscaping, they have to do, not me, right? Why should I am suffering? Can you listen my request, please? To open the business, because the liquor business is only in December, good business. December is like a whole year business in 1 month, Christmas, around Christmas. If after December done, 11 month is nothing, no business. Only 1 year, 1 month business is 1 year, only December, Christmas year, Christmas time. Otherwise, no business. So I am stuck. I don't know how to can stand in business then. I have to pay the tax. I will give couple of employees like jobs, you know. My son, he dropped out from the school. He is looking for a job in my store, right? I am badly sick. I can work. My wife, she's take off from the hospital 6 months because she take care of me because I have head injury. I was in coma for 2 months. I am bad sick, handicap. And she take care of my business, me and my kids. And I pay arrangement my rent for $3,500 rent. I arranged everything. I make counters, fans, lighting, everything done, ready for 6 months, right? But this is little bit different. You have to understand that why should tenant suffering? Just for landscaping, lot of in city, lot of stores, they have no landscaping. No, a lot of stores around in the city. I bought the city property many times. Many times I bought the city properties. Right? I just request you, I am in very bad position. Let me open my business. Right? Just my request, please.
Yeah,
Because this is December is the only 1 month business in a whole year. Liquor store. right? I'm paying 2 years for $3,500 rent for nothing. I don't make even 1 penny. Every day I spend me and my wife, my sister, spend time over there, painting, everything we do myself. Very hard to do my job. I don't hire anybody. My wife, she do. 6 months she take off from the hospital. She work in hospital because for me, I can work. Please think that plumbing is done. We can check from the inspector. I can submit to the city, right? Landscaping, my owner, he will submit everything from city. But is everything ready? So I don't think I have any need to do anything more. This is my request up to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. We understand the significance of December business and the volume of business in a business of this nature, and it's unfortunate that the approvals aren't in place yet to allow you to open, to kind of capitalize upon that volume that you might expect in the month of December. We know that's significant. Unfortunately, this body is unable to act on the application with the outstanding issues that we've talked about over the last 15, 20 or so minutes, especially the plumbing issue. We need confirmation in writing from the county's office that the repairs or the changes that have been recommended have been made and made satisfactorily. I think one of the other points about the landscaping, this body might be able to address them on a conditional basis, knowing that we're quickly moving out of, if we're not already through, planting season in this locale for now, and but we still need the inspection of what's been done already, and to the extent additional landscaping might be needed, that might be a condition that this body can put on an approval to be done in the spring planting season. But the fact remains that the plumbing work that has been done, we don't have the official sign off from the county office yet on that. I think that can happen quickly, relatively quickly, and before our next meeting. And I think that will give us a key assurance that we need to move forward on your application.
So I have a question. So do we need to call the plumber, like county, or they have to come by themselves? For inspection.
So you have to call the county plumbing department, is it?
Yeah, Onondaga County Plumbing Control.
Right.
So the plumber you hired should know how to get his work inspected under his permit.
For the inspector.
Yeah, but your plumber should call them.
Okay, plumber will
Okay.
call.
Yes.
So you have to tell your plumber.
Say, I need my inspection. I need a final cert from the Onondaga County Plumbing Control
Final
Inspector.
inspection from the county. And he should be able to call them and arrange a date and a time for them to come and inspect his work. And if you tell him, obviously, you would like it done as soon as possible. As soon as possible.
Yeah, the next meeting is December 2nd, so you might use that date in referring them to the work. That you'd like to have it done before then.
Yeah, the plumbing, like letter, is this what you guys are looking for? I don't know if this is what you guys are looking for.
From the county?
So this is your paid invoice from your plumber. So Nadante, who we know,
Yes, we do.
needs to get his work inspected by the county.
So we just explained, if it is Nadante, Nadante knows exactly who to call and how to get it inspected. And if you ask him, you know, you would like to have it done by December 1st, latest.
Yeah, latest, latest.
Well, we'll see, because Jake also has to come over and see the site, or someone from his office. You need to set up, you, the owner, need to set up a meeting with him.
And those two things happen independently. The plumber calls the county for that inspection. Jake's office will do the other inspection. They don't have to be at the same time.
Okay, I'll give a call to Jake's office tomorrow to schedule time. Hopefully we can get in before December, and then we'll work with the plumber to get that.
Right.
So if we submit from the
That's it.
inspection from the
County.
inspector, so we can get approved right away or another meeting?
Another meeting.
Another meeting.
If you can get you need to get the inspection done before December 1st, if it's possible.
December 1st.
Yes, and Dante needs to get the certificate and give you a copy so you can give it to our office.
Okay.
Okay? Yes, thank you.
Given all that, I think we
Call him
might be well advised to hold off on our secret review and handle that when we're dealing with other aspects of the project at the next meeting. So we will set that aside and expect this to be on our agenda at the next meeting with the approvals that the applicant needs at that time. So we will hold this old item of business as well.
You need a motion for that?
We can, sure. If you,
So, given the discussion, I move to hold the application for the next meeting, pending verification of plumbing and other landscaping issues.
there a second?
Second.
And discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? We'll hold SP 2422. Now we are at a spot to move into new business items.
Yes, next up is a re-subdivision R-24-58 located at 1525 South Ave, 1531, 1535, 1537-39, and 1541-43. Applicant is the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corp., AKA Land Bank.
Evening, I'm Terry Luckett from the Syracuse Land Bank, 1941 South Salina Street. This is a request to merge 3 vacant lots and then a 20-foot portion of a 4th vacant lot totaling a little bit over half an acre on South Ave. A 20-foot section, you want to, what do I do? Just put my finger on it? Oh, see it up there, I don't see it. I pressed it. I'm not good at technology.
Christian will do it.
Oh, there we go, there it is. Okay, so this 20-foot section here, this 20-foot section is going to be added to this 2-family house. He needs a driveway. You can see he has a little strip of pavement here that's used for the people who live in this house are handicapped, and they park here. So he's unable to use this driveway to get it into his backyard to park because the handicapped person's car stays parked here so they can access a ramp, if I'm being clear there. Anyway, this 20-foot section is going to be added to the 2-family house. The other 3 lots plus the balance of that 20 feet of that 1 lot is going to be merged together for a new construction site. That site's going to be marketed for mixed-use development in line with MX2 zoning requirements and the South Ave corridor plan.
Questions for the applicant?
Is there curbing along the front of the property currently, or so there
There
has
is
to
a
be a curb?
curb there.
There has to be a curb cut.
So he'll have to put in a curb cut.
Right.
I have a question, Terry. Less about the project itself, but it was about the short environmental form. It indicated that it's adjacent to wetlands, and there's a nearby National Register designated spot or eligible. Is that
The
true?
National Register spot that's eligible is, I wrote this down because I saw that myself today. Hang on one second. It's question 12, right?
Yes, 12.
Yeah.
1501 South Ave is the First Deposit and Trust Company branch, and that's
Oh, the
eligible.
bank.
But
Okay,
that's-
it's eligible.
That's
Okay.
up the street.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't recall what was nearby that would fall under that category. And then the second thing is wetlands? Is
You
that
know,
the right answer?
These
or
things come out automatically. I don't think there's any wetlands there. So I don't,
It's not near the creek at all, is it?
no.
It's the only thing I
No.
could think of.
What question's that, 15?
13.
Yeah, I do, oh yeah, I did answer that. I looked at FEMA.gov and it doesn't indicate the presence of any wetlands. So I don't know why that check mark came out automatically on the DC EAF mapper. You run these things and a few questions get answered automatically. And
Okay.
I think that's an error.
I was
So that
puzzled
probably
to
should be a no.
imagine a wetland in the vicinity.
Yeah.
So, okay, just
Yeah.
curious. Further questions for the applicant? Okay, thanks. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So we have no additional speakers on this application. We'll close public comment and proceed to our environmental review.
Have all commission members had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet and prepared by the applicant?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2 also included in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you don't believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion, seeker motion for that recommendation?
I move finding of a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you. Discussion on the seeker motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved for this re-subdivision. Is there a motion on the re-subdivision per se?
Move approval of re-subdivision R-24-58 with one condition, that the applicant of 154143 South Avenue will apply for a driveway permit when construction of the new, before construction of the new driveway.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Discussion on the re-subdivision motion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? And we move to our next application.
Next is a special use permit, SP-24-23, located at 123 Ashworth Place, owner AP Land Holdings, LLC, applicant Terry Horst. This is in the MX4 zone district. The applicant is seeking to establish a parking lot land use on a vacant lot.
I'm Terry Horst from Terry Horst Landscape Architecture, the landscape architect on the project. So the applicant is proposing 19 parking spaces on what is currently vacant property. The parking lot will be paved and surrounded with a privacy fence, along with probably 4 solar lights that would be fitted with security cameras. We are replacing the sidewalk along the front of the property that's along Ashworth Place, and including a walkway up to the parking lot, and with 2 bike racks as well. So the parking lot will serve the owner's properties that are located on Walnut Ave. The addresses were defined in the application, and the next sheet shows where those properties are. You can go to the next sheet. Well, that's the subdivision. I think there should be one more with a map. Maybe the next one. Okay, this one. So we can see where the project location is up at the top of the screen, and then the properties that it'll serve are the black dots. Those are student housing. So he is proposing to have like an overflow parking spot for them if they choose to park there. So it's not to address all of the property needs. It's just as a auxiliary parking lot.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
I guess my first question is for the zoning administrator. Just looking at the rezone section on off-street parking, and it's item E, it doesn't seem to me that this conforms to the requirements there for off-street parking, because the properties that the off-street parking are serving are scattered over a fairly wide range of geography. And it doesn't seem to conform with, to me at least, with the off-street parking requirement for rezone. So could you clarify?
Eric, I have a couple questions while we're waiting for a ruling on that. You indicate in the application that there'll be a 6-foot-high privacy fence, vinyl and/or pressure-treated wood.
Right.
Who's going to make that decision?
The owner will make the decision when we apply for the site permit
Okay.
with the city. Yeah.
So between the city and the owner?
Right.
Okay. And have to your knowledge, and maybe Christian or somebody can answer this too, have the neighbors been notified?
I believe the owner does know the neighbors, and he has talked to them about it.
Okay.
But I can't speak to what that conversation was. Okay.
Okay. Neighbors are here. All right. All right, and my last question has to do with the lighting, which, when I was there, there are 2 residences on either side of the proposed parking. So we're going to have to be cognizant of any light spill, obviously, into people's homes and/or backyards, porches, et cetera.
That, so the contemporary lighting will
I
have
know you know
cutoffs,
that. I
yeah.
just want to make sure we're all saying that out loud. Okay. In the meantime, we're waiting for
Right.
the ruling.
We know that there used to be before rezone, when we had life before rezone, the planning commission would ask certain property owners or landlords to arrange for off-street parking. We're not sure if that's translated into the rezone I know it's an intention, I'm not sure if it's actually there.
I think you have to wait 1 second. They want us, the neighbors.
We'll get there in just a moment,
Yep,
please.
sorry. This, okay.
So in this case, I'll first ask, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. And seeing no one rise to respond to that, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium, give us your name, address, and then your comments.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Galden, and my wife is Robin Galden. And we live at 119 Ashford Place, and we own the property at 121, next to 123, which I took care of for over 20 years, as far as keeping it from being violated. We have a problem as far as the parking lot because the dialysis across the street from us at 116 and 118. There's a parking lot there that has been for the dialysis that they don't use anymore because of cars being broken into and a lot of crime. And at nighttime, what happens is that people outside of our neighborhood come into our neighborhood and use those parking lots for all other explicit stuff, drugs, prostitution, all kinds of things goes on. Now, if the parking lot she's talking about is going to be next door to us, our deck faces east looking at this property. And if they're going to put a stockade fence up, I think they should put a fence that would be compatible to the fence that we have around our property, which is polymer. And also who's going to park there and who can get in there. And plus the snow removal. Where is that snow going to go from that parking lot?
Also, I know that most of the other housings that were built there had to have adequate parking before they even set it up for people to move in. And so what has happened here is they made these two-family homes into multiple living homes, and so there wasn't enough parking. So now they want to squeeze it in next door to us. So now we're dealing with carbon monoxide. We have elderly neighbors that have been there for years. I've been there 40 years myself. My neighbors have been there longer than me. One on the side of me has, on my right side, she has COPD. The other one has COPD. She's 90 years old, Miss Vicky. I don't know if you guys know her from there. But we also have another young lady who has a baby there. So this parking lot is going to go in the middle between both of us, which now we have to deal with noise. We have to deal with trash and garbage, which will come from these cars, which we have with
Tailgate parties.
which we have dealt with dealing with the neighborhood. He has to go up every garbage day. The garbage day, he has to pick up paper throughout the whole neighborhood because those houses that have the student with the multiple living
One we're talking about, yeah.
trash the neighborhood because they don't care where their garbage go. They don't care where their snow go. The businesses push the snow in the streets, so we get the snow pushed in front of our house. In the wintertime, we got to deal with all this excess. Dialysis is talking about making an entrance where their parking lot will be on the other side. So now we have all this traffic where the dialysis is going to come in one way. This parking lot is across the street. Dallas is talking about making an entrance right there. So now you have that traffic going into there with all the ambulance people coming in, and then you're going to have these people with this parking lot on the side. So we have that congestion. Every Friday, there's a food giveaway at the church. The street is lined up. We can't even get out on Fridays. We literally have to wait, which I don't mind the getaway. It's beautiful. I love that. We have to wait till 11 o'clock to leave the house on Friday. I work from home now. But to leave the house, if we have any business, because we can't even get out the driveway. We've been privy to fights out there because people arguing in line, who's next. The line goes on for at least a couple hours. And this is just Friday. You know, and during the week, we have so much traffic down that small little street. So can you imagine what this 19-car parking lot will do to that little bitty street, which we can't hardly get out as residents there? And it's just a lot we have to deal with.
So I just have a quick question to orient myself. When I'm looking at the proposed parking lot, vacant lots, are you on the right or the left?
We're on
Run the left. Okay, if you're looking at
If
us,
I'm looking at the lot,
we're on the right.
We're on the right.
okay.
Yeah.
And then we're right there, we have 4 windows that face that way, and we have a sliding door.
And our deck faces that way.
So we're gonna be dealing with carbon monoxide, because you know what it's like in the wintertime, people have to idle their cars, and you're talking about 19 cars. Let's not even say 19, let's say 10 or 5 idling in that one area.
And then I know what'll happen after that. Once even if you fence it in, once it gets fenced in, the tailgate parties start. Now I got a problem with them riding on my lawn. Everyone's in the yard. And then where we go from there?
We
Where
deal
do we
with
go?
it now.
We
We
deal
had a
with it
business
now.
that took the bushes down on the other side of the lot, which we were taking care of that lot over there. We cut the grass, do everything. Nobody's ever
years.
came out, said thank you or anything.
20 years.
We did it so our yard could look nice. And they took the bushes down. Do you know what type of traffic we had coming in and out of there? Our cars get broken into all the time. So I'm wondering what type of security they're gonna have out there to stop that, because that's gonna be a problem.
And it seems like if anything goes on, across the street from us, we're 119, 116 and 18 is a parking lot there that is not in use. And it's not being used because there's so much thieves going on around here. They're breaking into cars. I looked out my window one day and the lady was laying in the parking lot. I run outside and asked her what's wrong. She told me somebody was breaking into cars and she laid down because she didn't want to look at them to be able to identify them.
That was in
And
daylight.
that was in the daylight. They stopped using the parking lot.
We had to call one of the owners because people were breaking into the house. So this is an area where we have a lot of high crime, and now you're gonna put a parking lot, which look great to a thief, because they're breaking windows out.
yeah.
And students tend to leave laptops and backpacks, and this is the stuff they look for. So it makes it a threat to us, which finally we have some peace and quiet living in the house. We were part of we worked with the city to get a lot of those abandoned houses torn down.
There was nothing but
And it
abandoned
about
houses.
12 abandoned houses on our block. We worked with them, and they tore those houses down. Rats and everything came out of there. We went from one extreme to the next, and now we feel like we could ready to go through another extreme with the people parking there, the noise it's going to bring, and the other concerns and issues. Not that we don't want to see development. It looks beautiful around there, but we don't want them to develop it where it messes, where we pay for it, the tenants and the residents.
And people of that caliber, with the public lewdness and all that, they tend to find areas that are very quiet to perch. That's where they come and to do their business, where there's no traffic. We have less traffic and it's very quiet around here. But they do come in and they bring in drugs and guns and prostitutes.
We literally had them and see them out the window. We called the cops. We've done everything. The dialysis, my son parks across the parking lot so nobody can get in, which we got approval from the dialysis because people was parking
keep
over
them
there.
out.
They were rendezvousing over there. Whatever you could think about was happening in that one little parking lot, and I won't get explicit.
Yeah.
But he literally, if you come down the street any day of the week, you'll see a burning car parked across the parking lot.
Right
To block
across.
it off and people to pull in there.
You
So
got
now
your
we're
phone.
like,
You
what
can
are we
show,
going to
you can
deal
show
with
the
next
phone
door?
right now on our Ring camera. It's ridiculous. I mean, I know the guy. I've been mowing his grass. Matter of fact, I bought
called
the
us
lot
to
from his brother, and I was supposed to have the first bid on the property if it was going to be sold or anything to be done to it. And that was the agreement we had.
Never-
You know,
never
I mean, and I
till we
kept
see this car.
that property mowed and trimmed for 20 years. Now, you know how much it costs for a lot not to be mowed and when the city comes out. Now, calculate that for 20 years.
Just say once a month for the summer month.
Yeah.
And we paid for that to be done because we paid for our yard to get done.
And you looked at that property, you see 123 is always mowed,
Because
just
we
like
do it.
121, because I took care of it.
We take pride in our property. And we want to be secure for our neighbors and our elderly neighbors that live with us and around us. We care for them. We check on them. We make sure they're okay. We ask them if they need stuff from the stores. And these are some of their concerns because we talk with them.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we didn't even see the postcard. My neighbor, Mrs. Pitch, next door, said, did you guys know, or did you read the postcard? And we're like, what postcard? She said, they're going to put a parking lot next to you. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. And we have to look at that all, I mean, you know, they built a dorm across on Genesee, 505 Walton Place. They have an area up there. It's, I guess, a little reception area for the kids. And man, you can hear them. It just be roaring. It's just a lot of noise. I can imagine the noise next door to us.
With the cars.
And then when the parking lot, you can't get in the parking lot, they start parking on the grass. I don't approve of
Concerned
it
one, how we
right
can
now.
work and how to be
How can
feasible
we-
for the residents
yeah.
and us.
And safe
Okay.
for us. That's our main concern, safety.
All right, thank you.
Not just, build a parking lot because they have nowhere to park. Maybe make a deal with dialysis, see what they're gonna do with their parking lot. Because it's been sitting there vacant for how many years?
About 15?
Yeah, no one's using it because it's a thief zone. Because you can go park your car there and you come back and your windows are busted out. That's why they don't use it.
And they will have to have a key pass, and if anybody can park there, they're done. It's just not gonna work for them, their residents, or us.
Thank you.
Those are concerns.
Thank you
That's
for
our
your
concern.
comments. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alexander Marion. I'm the Syracuse City Auditor. My place of business is here, 233 East Washington Street, and I live over at 190 Robino Road in the Strathmore neighborhood. I'm here to speak in opposition to this because, well, first of all, these folks are a tough act to follow. They said probably everything that needs to be said. But I just want to add that Syracuse doesn't need more parking lots. I do not like parking lots. We do not need to add more parking lots to the city of Syracuse. We need to be focused. We have a limited amount of land we can use in the city. Parking lots are not, never have been, never will be the highest, best use of the limited land we have. If we have a lot of this substantial size, there are so many better things we could possibly be doing with it, including additional housing, which is something everyone agrees that our city needs. It could be green space for neighbors to enjoy and be well maintained. Parking lots, number one, are terrible for our climate. This is right along the East Genesee Street corridor. The East Genesee Street corridor has some of the best bike and bus and pedestrian infrastructure in the city of Syracuse. Telling people who live in the vicinity of the East Genesee Street corridor, hey, here's more parking lots for you, does not create more density in that area, and it does not create a more livable, walkable neighborhood for the people who are already there and the people who are going to be moving into that neighborhood. Additionally, parking lots act as heat sinks. They absorb energy from the sun during the day, and they will release that back out at night, raising temperatures in the immediate vicinity. That is not sustainable in our world where we are facing the increasing threat of climate change. And I'm not naive. I'm not going to say that this particular parking lot is going to be the line between, not having climate change and Armageddon, but every little bit we can do helps. Every little bit we can eliminate the pernicious presence of parking lots throughout the city of Syracuse makes a difference. The less asphalt we have in our neighborhoods, the more green space we have, the more housing we have, the better and stronger and healthier our neighborhoods become. Directly across from this parcel are other parking lots. Do we need to be adding more parking spaces right across from other parking spaces? And I'm proud to say I work in this building. I do drive to work on a daily basis. I look behind us, in front of us. The city of Syracuse has parking lots for its own employees that are filled 8 hours a day and vacant many more hours a day than they're filled. This lot could very well spend much of its time being vacant and not being in the highest, best productive use of the city of Syracuse. So with that, I encourage the Planning Commission to oppose this permit in the way that I oppose this permit, because we can do better, our neighborhoods deserve better, and I believe the city of Syracuse deserves better than more parking lots, a proliferation of parking lots throughout our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. You don't have any additional speakers, it appears. The applicant has an opportunity to address the comments made in opposition.
Yes, thank you for your comments. And I do understand that there is security issues, and the client understands that as well. So he is, looking at putting security cameras in and additional security for the gate for the lot itself. As far as who will be parking there, He is intending it to be more the people that work for the housing there, other than not necessarily mostly the students. So it'll be people maybe there for the daytime use with some students. So it's not going to be a big all-student parking. At least that's what the intent is. As far as snow plowing, there is ample, we meet the code for snow removal, so there's places to plow the snow too. We have, if it's allowed use in this zone, it's also, I mean, if the owner, it's a parking lot, so in the future, if the owner sees it better used as housing, that's something that could be easily converted. So, you know, a parking lot can be easily changed into a housing opportunity if that arises in the future.
Do you have an idea of how many employees might be using this proposed lot as opposed to the student residents?
No, but I can get details on that.
I just want to point out that if this is an off-site parking for business, it's evaluated differently than just a parking lot. And the way I read, and the zoning administrator read this application, is that it is merely an application for a parking lot. Otherwise, the application is deficient because it doesn't address the special parameters for off-site parking, and frankly, the dialysis center would need to be in here speaking as well. So this is strictly to be viewed as a parking lot, which requires a special use permit.
Thank you for the clarification. Anything additional to add?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. So we've heard comments on this in response to the comments. In opposition, I think we're in a position to close the public comment on this application. We can proceed with our seeker review before we ask for our assistance from our Assistant Corporation Counsel to walk us through the seeker review.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 that's contained in your packet?
Yes.
Has everyone reviewed the short EAF Part 2 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move finding of a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion. If not, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved, and we may proceed to action on the special use permit per se, SP 2423.
I would move to deny the special use permit without prejudice.
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion on the motion before us. If there's no discussion, then all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? SP 2423 is denied without prejudice. Thanks to everyone who spoke on that application. We continue down our list of new business items.
It's another special use permit, SP-24-25, located at 508-10 Westcott Street. The applicant proposes to modify an existing special use permit for restaurant use to establish a new restaurant.
William Pitcher, 124 Fiegel Avenue, Syracuse, New York, representing the owner and the applicant. The existing special permit, 1127, was for this particular layout in this particular building. The only thing that is changing is the actual tenant in the building. We are on the north side of north wall. Those 4 tables were, or 5 tables were banquets. They're being removed, and individual tables and chairs are being put in, but that's the only interior change proposed. And we're asking simply for continuation of all the parking waivers that were given on the original special permit. Since we're not changing really the number of occupants, or we're not changing the nature of the business, nor are we changing the size of the building. The hours of operation are basically going to be pretty much the same Sunday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to midnight. We're in an MX2 zoning classification now, and the building itself is, this tenant space is greater than 1,000 square feet, is the reason for the modification of the existing special permit. That's basically it.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
We do have a letter here that refers to a missing item in the packet, menu, the most critical piece of information.
I have not received that.
I'm sorry, it's in the newspaper. Oh. But not in the application. Just curious.
What's the question?
No, the menu.
Oh, the menu.
That's okay. It's just a joke.
Actually,
because the menu was printed in the newspaper article about.
There is one amendment to the application. The name of the restaurant will be Colucci, C-O-L-U-C-C-I, as opposed to Villucci.
Thanks for clarifying. I thought that was a typo in the packet because the newspaper article had it correct.
Yeah.
Still no menu, even with the new name. Okay. Further questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Corey Williams. I'm the 3rd District Councilor. I represent Westcott Street. Live at 255 Buckingham Avenue in the neighborhood. I would like to communicate my wholehearted support for this restaurant. Folks who live in the Westcott Street neighborhood and really citywide look to that corridor for the vitality and you know, the life that it provides to our neighborhood. And we've been kind of mourning the loss of Beer Belly Deli for a number of years now. We had a restaurant in there in the interim, but unfortunately that's not there any longer. And we look forward to bringing another patron back to our neighborhood. We look forward to supporting Colucci. And as you indicated, the menu has been leaked, and there's a whole lot of excitement in the neighborhood around, potential offerings. And I recommend that you move forward with the special use permit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there other individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Whether you've seen the menu or not, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium. Provide your name, address, and comments. We don't appear to have any additional speakers, so we'll close public comment on this application, and we can consider our seeker review for SP 2425.
Before we do that, just wants to document for the record that this is in fact a new special use permit application. We don't do modifications. So, to explain it, it is technically a modification of the old special use permit via a new special permit application, so. If that makes sense.
Circumstances are similar, but new permit.
That's correct.
Partly because the code is completely different now on special use permits,
Right.
both in terms of the review criteria and approval. So we opted not to do modifications right from the outset of the adoption of rezone. But Jitong assures me that all of the conditions from the first one are carried forward in the recommendations in your packet.
Thank you.
Ready for seeker?
We are ready for seeker.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the questions of the short EF Part 2 also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move a finding of a negative seeker declaration?
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion on the seeker motion? All in favor of the motion before us, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved for SP 2425, and we may now entertain a motion on the special use permit per se that will proceed as a recommendation to the council for final approval, final action.
Move approval of SP-24-25 as presented with 4 conditions listed on page 128 of the packet. The 4 conditions are carried over from the previous special use permit, which was issued before rezone was instituted.
Second.
Discussion on the motion before us.
Council has pointed out there's 5 conditions, including the first one, which is the general condition.
Okay, well, I thought we weren't
Provision.
including general was as part of.
There's two recommended conditions. The second one has 4 subparts. Just to clarify for the record.
Okay.
And the first one is just complying with the general conditions, but the record needs to be clear.
Okay, that's fine. So we haven't stated in the past compliance with general conditions, so we should be making that statement in the future in all special use permit cases?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
And I believe you have been doing it, actually. I think we've been keep putting them in your packet for a while now and making a reference to them.
Right, I understand. I know I haven't said before
Yeah.
in a motion, general conditions plus special conditions. So if we do that going forward, that's fine. Just wanted
Right. The case law says that you can't just make a cross-reference that something's in the packet, so you need to specify. We've included the general condition, so you include that recommendation in your motion.
Do we get that, or do you need me to make a new statement?
Just amend your motion to include the first
Okay,
condition.
so we amend the motion to include the first condition, which is a general condition that applies.
Second. Accepts a friendly amendment or clarification for the record.
Okay, thank you both. Discussion now on the amended motion before us for SP 2425. No further discussion, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? So that special use permit recommendation moves on to the council, and we move to our next special use permit.
Next up is special use permit SP-24-24. This is located at 1001-09 Butternut Street. The owner is proposing to open a convenience store. converting the land use from a former laundromat to a food and beverage retail use.
Terry Horse Landscape Architecture, here for the applicant who's not in attendance to speak for 1001 Butternut Street. So they're proposing a change of use to a convenience store. There is no change to the site other than defining the parking, adding some bollards, the requested stop bar and stop signs at the entrances, a dumpster enclosure, and a striped pedestrian walkway from Butternut Street to the building.
Any questions for the applicant?
Questions, I'm not sure for the applicant or for the zoning administrator, but this is a property that seems to have a fairly sketchy history and right now is currently closed because it was operating illegally as a convenience store and also was selling illegal drugs out of the property. So I'm just wondering what the ownership history is. Is the current owner the owner that has been responsible for the violations in the past? What's the status of that?
Yeah, so the current building and landowner is unchanged. We don't know much about this applicant other than what's in your packet. The business applicant is an LLC, Sammy Syracuse LLC. No pun intended, but we have limited information on them.
That's a good one.
But yeah, the building owner is the same, and as you stated, there were certainly some problems and some illegal activity taking place here.
How long was the business operating illegally? When was the violations discovered and closed? Was that as of the 11/14/23 date, or do we know the history of this?
I should know this because I was partly involved, but the days blend together.
I have a question for Terry while we're looking that up. Sorry, Terry. So included in our packet is the new, well, it's new to me, the Syracuse SPD security review of an application for something of this nature, a special use permit, a convenience store, et cetera. I don't know if you have had if this has been shared with you and the applicant?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay.
No.
So that's first and foremost, you have to see this, as does the applicant.
How can that be shared with me?
So,
Sorry.
Ted.
Oh, yes.
They haven't
It's
seen
in the
it.
packet. That's one.
Oh, right. Well, good point.
So that's on us, but I'll own that for right now. But in any event, there is, and obviously I don't expect you to answer, but there are recommendations for security, for lighting, for future go
Yeah, I can't
forward.
speak to any of that.
And all of that, in my opinion, we will need to have answers that you accept or don't accept and why not prior to us considering the application for approval. So I think the first thing that should happen is we need to share that ASAP with you and the applicant for your review and study. And in the meantime, I don't know if you can speak to the operator of the convenience store as to whether it is the same operator that was previously Zaza?
I can't speak to that. I'm not.
Okay. Okay.
Is that there was a little bit of history in the design phase as well, and so I don't think I have, that history information that far back.
So I guess what I'm saying is I would recommend and ask my colleagues to consider, we're not in the habit of holding a lot, but we are holding a lot tonight. So holding this for our next meeting so that you and the applicant and whomever else can work out the SEPTED recommendations and your thoughts and consideration of them. Does that work, Jake? Sorry, Jake, I need to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I'm recommending that we hold this so that Terry can get a copy of SEPTED and share it with the owner, and they can make a determination as to whether they would comply or why they wouldn't, or what they agree or disagree with. Is that
That's fair.
fair?
Just for the record, SEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. It's an evaluation from trained officers that have some recommendations on everything that you mentioned. So,
And this is a relatively new process.
New to us.
Yeah.
new to this
us.
body, yes.
Yes,
It's something
yeah.
that we've been looking for ideas on how to incorporate it into actual use of businesses, and this is how we're going to do it.
Oh, you're our first, Terry.
Yeah.
And I apologize that you didn't see it before tonight. But we will correct that, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to share with the team and us your thoughts and ideas.
Are there other issues that we need to be looking at as well?
I don't speak for everybody else,
Okay.
so.
That's a key one, but you need to see the information first and the recommendations before you can respond. Any additional questions or points
No,
of
other than the
clarification?
ownership history, and if, the current owner is the person that was still the owner when all the violations were taking place.
All right, so
I mean,
we need to know who the owner was when the violations occurred. Is that what we're trying to find out?
I mean, we've had several cases like this where you have a change in ownership. Violations were accrued by the previous owner who was a bad actor, but the new owner is not. So we just want to make sure we understand that situation in this particular case.
All right, yeah, I get it, okay. So you want to know how the applicant is related to the person who had the violation?
Correct.
Or not related.
Or not related.
Well, what's the significance of that, other than just the knowledge of what that is?
I mean, the property, I visited the property today, the property is still set up as a convenience store.
Yeah, it's locked, yeah.
Right.
But, okay.
And you addressed, Terry, I'm assuming, I didn't get it. So let me see, chain link on the dumpster in the back, okay.
Also recommend around the whole exterior of the property.
Yeah, there's some,
There's a little guardrail on
Right,
the.
right.
there's topography challenges on the parking side, especially when I turn onto Carbon.
Yeah, there's an awkward entrance and exit, and I think that was
Right.
part of a previous approval, or, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Or Neil Burke, I think, made the recommendation.
Right. The recommendation of the police analysis was a 4-foot fence around the whole property.
Oh, okay, all
Because
right.
there's problems with, foliage in the back and homeless people camping out there, et cetera. Those
Okay.
were the issues that were raised.
Okay. I'll have to review that with.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Do formalize what you recommended and
I'll make a motion that we will hold this application until our next meeting in order for everyone to have time to review the new SEPTED recommendation.
discussion on the motion. There's no discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So we'll hold SP 2424 until our next meeting in December. We move forward to our next application.
Yes, last but not least, this is our Syracuse Housing Authority Central Office project. There are two companion pieces, a major site plan review, MASPR-24-35, and a re-subdivision R-24-60.
Mike Ridley with CNS Companies, 499 Colonel Eileen Collins Boulevard, Syracuse. We're the design consultant for Syracuse Housing Authority for this project. And, okay. So I'll give you a brief overview of the project. The impetus for this project is because the current central office facility for the housing authority is being impacted by the 81 project. The current office is located right here between 81 and the railroad embankment. The proposed project is to take place on this property that the Syracuse Housing Authority also owns on the other side of the railroad embankment. You can move on to the next slide. The existing site is vacant. It's composed of several individual lots, but it's all kind of a former industrial use with some old remnant residential parceling. But right now it's completely vacant and looks pretty much like what you see in these photographs here. Okay. So in order to construct the project on the site, the first piece is to combine all these lots into one lot. The proposal is to combine 13 individual lots that you see kind of outlined in the blue over here. Where'd it go? And then create one lot to build this project on. There's a couple other things going on that this has to be coordinated with. Also, because of the I-81 project, there's going to be some changes to the railroad embankment. So the DOT has acquired a fee easement along the eastern side of the property there, and then a temporary easement alongside that to allow construction access to a new embankment for the railroad alignment that's going to be shifting a little bit to accommodate the new roundabout kind of off to the southeast in this picture. So with those things also in the mix, we've come up with a series of plans that kind of address the fact that our project is going to be moving a little faster than the 81 project. So you can go to the next slide. So what we're proposing is the new building will be constructed in phase one, but some of the site work will be truncated to accommodate access to the work that DOT is going to be doing in their area. So the phase one would be a smaller parking area and grading that's all within outside of the fee easement for DOT. And then phase two will be adding the additional parking back in to give the full quantity that we can get on the site. So from I guess if you go from all the kind of zoning data is indicated on there for you to see, but as far as the parking goes, we have submitted a letter for approval of a reduction in the required amount of parking because of the proximity to transit stops and available on-street parking. So with that, with those allowances approved, we'll meet the requirements of the code. If you move ahead, I can talk about the grading a little bit. We've modified this plan since we submitted this to keep it all completely within the outside of the DOT's easement area. We've had one meeting with them. We're going to be meeting with them tomorrow to present an updated grading plan and our phasing plan as well. We're kind of working on that parallel to meeting with you folks about this as well. But I think we have a solution for that satisfies any concerns that they would have for access and constructability of their improvements to the embankment. Actually, one more thing, you can go back and all the colorful stuff is coming up still. But, just from a drainage perspective, we're draining as much as possible with sheet flow off of our impervious surfaces to a vegetated drainage area. But because we are been able to reduce the impervious cover from the site because it was largely paved in its previous iteration of building or pavement, we've been able to stay under or above the 25% threshold in reduction of impervious surfaces. So we don't really have to do any other stormwater treatment practices, although we still are, as a best practice, trying to encourage as much infiltration as possible in dealing with the stormwater on site. Okay, now we can talk about some of a palette of landscape plants that we're proposing to use. And some renderings of the building are coming up next here. This is the view from the corner of, or kind of near the corner of Burt and McBride, which is kind of the, the main facade of the building. There's some sculptural elements that are kind of part of that as well. We have the architects here. If you have any questions for them, they can go into great detail about that for you. The next slide, I think, is the view kind of turning a little bit more onto Burt Street. You can see some of the finishes that are being proposed. And then the next one, I believe, is from the Van Buren McBride corner. And I think that's about all we have as far as just giving an introduction to what we're doing.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Let's find out. Any questions for the applicant from the commission members for starters?
I'm kind of curious about the easement situation, because it appears to me that I know the New York State DOT acquisition map and comments indicate that they want to keep the easement in place until the completion of the project. But it appears to me that most of the issues with the easements will be resolved by the end of contract 5, especially with respect to the railroad, because that'll all be completed by the end of contract 5. So you ought to be able to go into all of your landscaping and other stuff sooner than the end of contract 8, the end of the project. I'm just curious about, your discussions with DOT about that.
Yeah, so our plan would be, and correct me if I got this off base, but it would be to be in construction next year for this project. DOT's schedule for completing this work is 2027. So we're still a couple years ahead of them.
Right, but the schedule for completion of contract 5, which is what involves the railroad and all of your property where that easement is in place, should be finished long before the end of the project, the end of contract 8. And they have an easement for contract 8 along Burt Street area. I'm sorry, not Burt Street, Van Buren. But it doesn't look like any of that really impacts your project. I'm wondering, I guess, am I correct in understanding in phase 2 really is just extending the parking lot for the most part and then additional landscaping?
Yeah, the reason is that they can't guarantee that any improvements that we make in that temporary easement will not be damaged.
Understood. Yes.
Before we're done, before they're done. They may well be done before that time, but in the interest of being careful, we've kept everything out of that in that time period.
So, but what it really does impact really is only the extension of the parking lot into that phase 2 construction?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for the applicant?
Did the zoning administrator approve your parking request?
We just submitted that letter, I think. Yeah, so we haven't gotten a response.
I don't understand why not.
Okay. Thank you.
here for an earlier discussion about easements, and so without getting into fee simple and Whiteacre and all that, we just know that DOT can promise certain things, and then there's railroad regulations, which hopefully none of us have to learn, but we understand.
Well, the better safe than sorry route
It's
is
better to
always,
recognize that it's all there.
yeah, it's going to be in your favor with DOT, I think. So,
Have you been working with Joe Driscoll in resolving the conversation with I-81? Because he might be able to provide some support.
So far, we've, DOT has been very willing to work with us on what we need to do.
Good.
It's just they want to make sure they can build what they need to
Right, I
build.
understand.
Further questions for the applicant? It's an exciting future for SHA.
I'd just like to say I appreciate the comments in response to all the transportation planner suggestions. It's very rich to have that detailed responses. It really helps us in our decision.
Thank you all, by the way, all the silent partners. We know it's not like this at your meeting, so we understand.
Okay, thank you. Are there any individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward to the podium, provide your name, address, and your remarks. I didn't think anyone was going to stand up for either category. But the opportunity was there, and we can now close public comment on this and proceed to do our seeker review with assistance from our Corporation Counsel's office.
can I just ask a question? I can't even believe I'm going to ask this, but I think it's difficult to do a major site plan review without the parking questions resolved.
And what would make you feel better? What should we do to get those answers?
I think we either have to hold it until our next meeting, and I can't believe that I said that, but, or, I guess we could, I will defer to council if we approve it pending the approval of the parking.
Your question about
Consideration.
parking apply to both Phase 1 and Phase 2, or just Phase 2?
It's the whole project, because what they're asking for actually is a reduction, if I read it right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but a reduction in what we would historically require in parking, because they, A, don't need it, and have access to a lot
Proximity
of
to
public
bus route and-
transportation, et cetera.
So, sorry, some of this is just coming to light, but since this has been received, zoning staff planner has evaluated the parking reduction request. So I'm going to ask Jitong, our zoning plans examiner, to just give a summary of the ask, but on page 250 of your packet, this evaluation is accurate and does seem to work. It would fall in conjunction with one of the recommended conditions on the major site plan review, which is the first sub-bullet point, which is a request that the applicant work with Public Works on the proposed on-street parking spaces in the public right-of-way, and that they obtain all necessary permits along the way. But happy to have Jitong explain or answer any questions regarding page 250 in your packet.
Yeah, so my name is Yitong Wu. My address is 300 South State Street. I'm from the zoning office. Based on the gross floor area of this office structure, the minimum required parking space is 70. And I do a research, and I found that within the linear feet of 1,000 feet from the project site, there is multiple transit stops available there. So according to the zoning code, they are allowed to have the 30% off on the parking reduction. So that makes them reduce the required parking space by 21st, which is eliminated to the 49 parking spaces required. And also, they, in the phase one, they are proposing to have 42 on-site parking spaces and 9 off-site parking spaces. So with that reductions, they are available, like they meet the minimum parking requirements for the phase one. And in the phase two, they expand their parking into the easement, so which makes their parking lots into
51, they exceed it.
51 parking. No. I'm sorry. They are adding 8 more on-site parking spaces, which makes it into a 50 on-site parking spaces and 9 on-street or off-site parking spaces. So the total number is 59. So with the parking reduction, the phase one and phase two both meets the minimum requirements.
Of the 30% reduction.
Yes, correct.
Thank you, Jitan.
That clarification, we, I think, are prepared to do our seeker work.
Has everybody had a chance to read the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Have you all reviewed the short EAF Part 2 also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
Because no one believes there will be any moderate to large impacts under seeker, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect, please?
Move a finding of a negative seeker declaration?
Yes.
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved, and we may proceed to action on the re-subdivision and the major site plan review.
Approval of R-24-60 as presented with 2 conditions. One condition is the applicant is required to coordinate with New York State Department of Transportation regarding coordinating construction plans and upcoming changes in the area. And the second condition is application must resolve any encroachments in the New York State Department of Transportation right-of-way approval for building permit plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second and ask the maker to consider, in addition, the requests by the transportation planner, Neil Berg, and that that the applicant accommodate and answer all of his concerns.
Further discussion on the amended motion? Not. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? R-2460 for the re-subdivision is approved, leaving us just the major site plan review, MASPR 2435.
Move approval MASPR-24-35 with 4 specific recommendations beyond the 1 general recommendation for all major site plan reviews. One, applicant shall work with Department of Public Work on the proposed work and out-of-street parking spaces and public right-of-way domain and all necessary permits. Two, the applicant shall coordinate with New York State Department of Transportation regarding coordination of construction plans and upcoming changes in the area. Three, the applicant shall resolve any endorsements with the New York State Department of Transportation. And four, the applicant shall report to the Syracuse Office of Zoning Administration if any changes have been proposed to the project plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on this motion for the major site plan review. There's no discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? That major site plan review, MASPR 2435 is approved. Thank you all. Team SHA. That, I think, completes our applications for this evening. We are prepared to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second?
Please don't abstain this time. Discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. We stand adjourned until our December 3rd meeting.
Second.
Second, thank you. I knew it was early
Second,
December.
third, fourth.